very limited definition of grief in our culture, or in the dominant culture, seems to be around bereavement, hey? And I think what I love about this work is, I'm moving my hands, it's such a big crucible. This work is welcoming everything. This weekend is welcoming everything. Personal and planetary is the way we've positioned it, and everything that's included in that. It could be bereavement, it could be loss, it could be ancestral grief, it could be grief about the environment, grief about the places of suffering in the planet at the moment, local and further away, and maybe a sort of more nebulous sense of Francis Weller talks about, in one of the Gates of Grief, he talks about the things we expected but did not receive. And I love the Gates, and that particular one, it seems to me to touch something of a sort of unnameable grief of what it is to be here sometimes as a human, and things not being as we would love for ourselves and for those we love, and also for all beings, hey?
Thing to that about what Sarah speaks to there, of that definition of grief, and how when when we mention the word grief, it's often perceived as bereavement, and I think that can often be a way that people find the grief tending work, or the sort of a gateway in for a lot of people. It was certainly how it was for me, and I think that is how I perceived it. And I think by the time I got to the end of my first day at a grief tending event, it was like something had just opened up, and like, goodness me, I came here thinking, yeah, my grief is about this loss of this person, this person, this person, this is what I'm bringing. And then certainly when we started exploring the structure that Francis Weller, that beautiful idea of these different gateways into grief, it just was like, whoa, okay. And suddenly I kind of recognized that there was something in all of these different things, and it was all part of something actually maybe that I'd been holding throughout my whole life, regardless of the individual losses and the bereavements that I'd had, that there was something that was like a kind of an emptiness in me, and I had just like a hurting in me, and a sort of a deep sorrow that I just couldn't name, that when I looked back through my life, it kind of always been there. And there is something there, just isn't there, in the wider culture at the moment, that it feels like we are in times when unmet, untended grief is the impact of that is being played out on the world stage. But what that means for us is, it all starts, doesn't it, with with our individual journey with that. And I think once we kind of get to sort of really find space for that sorrow, that deep sorrow, it's kind of mind-blowing.
Like this sense, it often strikes me, that grief is a kind of doorway. It's the word we use. It's a doorway of sorts, and often in a feedback that we get from people attending grief tending is that they loved the songs, they loved the dancing, they loved the sense of community, the sense of village. Sometimes we talk about villaging. We're feeling into some sort of restoration of what it might be like to be received into a community that has ceremony, ritual, has ways of holding each other that are kind of timeless, but missing from in so many ways in our culture. So it's Sophy Banks, one of our teachers, talks a lot about cultural renewal, like cultural repair. Right, we're in this territory, and often it's so missing in our lives. My sense that we don't even know it's not there, and we come to these spaces and we get a taste of something that's like, I'm missing peace. This is something I need in my life.